Good morning. I think we've got some folks logged in from the boardroom in Georgetown.
Met, I moved down.
Yeah. You just able to.
Can you confirm who you are over there?
Spring,
There you go.
all around Jacksonville.
Okay.
Hey, George, it's Aaron and Rachel.
Love it.
Hi,
Okay.
Aaron. Hi, Rachel. Thanks. Hey, good morning, everyone. This is clearly scheduled meeting of the Board of County Commissioners. Actually, this is a special meeting of the Board of County Commissioners. It is August 18th. It's 11:08. This is our public safety financing team. I'm going to go ahead and get public comment as a legal requirement. Anybody here for public comment? Looking on Zoom, I don't see any participants who are members of the public. I'm going to close public comment. So we want to start this meeting just with a quick announcement. We don't want to go into a ton of depth here, but as our valued partners, we want you to know that Brian Bossart is no longer employed by Clear Creek County. Starting in early 2025, the board took a pretty close interest in just trying to get to know the team and look at performance. And after 7 months with this group observing dynamics, became pretty clear that a change was necessary. So, of course, we're grateful to his 4 years of service. We went through a lot, accomplished a lot during his time here. If you have questions for now regarding Brian, please reach out to Peter Lickman. Of course, we have the Deputy County Manager, Colton, here. Tomorrow, we're going to name an interim county manager, and we're immediately going to begin the search for a new county manager. That process is going to take at least 2 months. So 2.5 months last time. All are welcome to apply, of course. And the board is committed to working closely with the leadership team to understand what the most important things to look for in the next county manager are. And I just lastly want to thank whoever we name as the interim manager and the entire county team. Apps that are going to appear. The board has a budget to adopt. We have goals, make sure that reasonable goals are met, and that the organization continues to run. And we know that our staff is going to, be taking on a little bit more. So we're grateful to them. Becca, Jody, anything to add?
No, I just understand there have been some challenges over the past few years, and we're hoping to address those and make things run smoothly in the county. So thank you.
Yeah, same. We've been listening to directors and staff since I was in Canada, actually. A lot of people are very verbal in this community, and we listened to a lot of people and decided that this current board, our goals and directions were a little bit different than the way we were going. So I look forward to what we can accomplish, and I look forward to meeting the new person and getting things done.
Thank you.
And I just have to say this. This is by no means a house cleaning. It was just a direction for high-level management that we're seeking to change. So thank you.
lot of confidence in the people that are on the team.
Yes.
I hesitate to, we are going to send an email out to sort of our close partners. A lot of the people in this room will receive that email. Hesitate to have too much dialogue about that because we've got work to do. Maybe just a brief pause. If anybody has any burning questions or. Okay. Thank you all for your grace with us. Public safety finance. We're here to discuss, just as a quick summary of where we've been and where we're going. We spent pretty much the whole year talking about different tax proposal options to finance different elements of the public safety finance team, the three agencies that make up that team. We've landed on considering a 6.89 mil increase within the ESGID only. And so I know you all know that. So it's just quick background. The board has been working. We've had a few work sessions to go through ballot language and discuss that. Fire authority staff has been in attendance for those, and
EMS.
EMS staff. We do have online, we have Aaron Crawley with EMS and Rachel Harlow-Schock, the finance director. I don't know that we need to go around the room and do introductions. I feel like we know each other pretty well. Not hearing anybody want to take that time. So I think, maybe we just get to it and I can put the ballot language on the screen and talk us through it and hear some reactions. Okay. I better make sure I've got the right document here. Is that big enough for everybody to see? Okay, so I want to just talk us through, and Peter, just interrupt me or do you want to just talk us through?
I'm happy if you lead it. Excuse me for the cough drop in my mouth.
Good call. So what you see here, there's a big decision to make, and then there's just a lot of commentary. I think it's kind of at this point a 4-part conversation, I'll say. We have this first paragraph, which is basically what's legally required. You'll see that has been simplified a lot. What we sent in the survey was, this many mills, and it was this many mills then, and it's being increased by that. And looking at that sentence and trying to read through it, we thought that being more simple and straight is the best approach to getting to just being able to read something and understand what's really being asked. Then down here, you have 3 bullets describing the services that this will fund. Our goal here is to have this language really be graphic, right? As in like sharing precisely what this money is going to do for people. And so we've got fire authority, fire prevention, fire suppression. We've got that middle bullet is about wildfire mitigation. And then we've got Clear Creek EMS. There's a little bit of a conversation on our board about whether the right word there is sustaining or strengthening. So then I'm just going to continue with this summary. So then this this third, I guess, paragraph is only the language that's required for us to actually retain the increase. Tabor is like that. If you get a tax increase, you also have to have the ability to retain the new revenue. What it does not include is low. And we have 2 options here. These are examples of separate questions that could also go on the ballot. The first question would be just to waive the new statutory 5.25% cap that was implemented last fall, House Bill 24B something, something, something. Example two, and that legally has to be a separate question. We cannot meet the requirements for this question and the requirements for a tax increase. So it legally has to be a separate question to try to waive that new statutory cap. This second example is a question that waives the statutory cap and the Tabor cap and the other old statutory cap. And puts them all in one separate question. And so to try to kind of say this, I think, in as simple a way as possible. Historically, we've run ballot measures that debruce in the same question. And debrucing means waive that cap. And that cap is future assessed value growth, right? There's one question is, can we keep the money that you just said you want to let us raise the tax by? Another question is, as assessed value grows over the years, if it's above 5.5% per year, can we keep that too? So, I mean, our options are to put the Tabor, debruce from Tabor language back into that original question, leave, and then go with example one, or to leave that out and put all three of those, how do people feel about future assessed value growth questions, into their own separate question. I'll share my opinion that I think being in office during this time of rapid assessed value growth, I think that there are two distinct important questions in a voter's mind about what do I think about 6.8 mils on what I know of my value today versus how do I feel about 6.8 mils not knowing how it's going to grow in the future. I think that second question I think is a harder one in today's, just given the assessed value growth. Maybe what I'm doing is priming you with my opinion, and then, but you all know that I embrace when you tell me when I'm wrong. That's one of my favorite things to hear. So let me pause there. Peter, do you need to fill anything in?
No, I'm thinking I can leave. You did a great job.
Thank you.
But no, that's exactly what you said.
Okay.
Spot on.
So we probably want to take these one at a time in terms of looking at the bullets and then thinking about this debrucing question. Colleagues, is there any kind of color commentary to kind of get these folks up to speed?
Yeah, my color commentary is we need to be clear. Right now, we cannot get, I mean, even if the voters approved it, we can't get 6.89 mils because we're limited to 5.25%. Are those two separate buckets?
My understanding, and Peter, I'm going to try to save your voice, but just throw something.
Okay.
My understanding is that this paragraph here, be entitled to collect, retain, and spend the full revenue from this tax, that's all that's needed for us to implement an increased rate and collect the amount based on today's assessed value. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, my understanding is if they say, yes, we can go above 5.25, then we can use this if they vote for it.
That's separate. Those are two separate questions. One is, can we raise the tax and keep the money from the raised tax?
Mhm.
The other one is down here. Also, as values grow over time, can we keep the increased revenue from those increases in assessed value?
Okay. So my question is, it's not just a matter of keeping what we're getting. It's right now, we can't go above 5.25% unless the voters say yes, correct?
No, so you know it as well, so.
Well, I'll save you your voice then. Right now, with the 4.5 mils that we have currently, we are debruced. And so we can keep any amount,
Yes, I understand.
right? We are not, those mills are subject to the statutory cap.
They are.
They are,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. So we have to have both.
We do have to have both, yeah.
Okay. And then my second question is for the voters, is that they all think this is gonna be 11.69 or whatever, 11 something.
Yeah.
On top of the 40% they just got, their value just got increased. So is there a way in here, or is that in fact the case? Because I thought that was limited.
I could see why people that don't understand.
Correct.
This whole thing could look at that and they're just gonna look at the numbers and think, oh, we're gonna go up to 6 point whatever. And then if it goes over the 10 and 0.75, then we're gonna keep that too. They're not gonna be thinking the percentages each year, and that's in 2-year increments, because we 2 years.
Right.
Right, so if you pass the mill increase,
Mhm.
right, that 5.25% is only on the growth, right? Not any new mills that get passed, right? So you're really just talking about that 40% change in assessed value,
Okay,
right?
yep.
But it's annual. And since assessed values don't go down, you will eventually get that funding. It is about, do you want the money all at once in one fiscal year? Or can you space it out over time so people don't get that sticker shock of a huge increase in a single year, right?
That's what this language, what Colton just described is what this language does.
Is there, is this statutory language, or is there a way to explain that?
No, that is, so that's essentially in order to avoid Tabor limitations.
Right.
You need that language in there and it's specified.
So without this language, this retain and spend the full revenue language, even if they approve 100 mills, we only get to realize a 5% assessed value increase, like a 5% increase in revenue every year.
Right.
And then in, some years down the road, we've actually gotten up to the mill allocation. That's what this question does.
Okay.
The second question is, if assuming this passes and we walk into 2026 and we've got all 6.89 mils worth of new revenue,
Mhm.
then this question would need to pass in order for us to keep more than 5.25% per year
Example.
as assessed values grow over time.
Can it say that?
Yeah, well, so good question. Because if you look at example two assumes that you're taking out all the Tabor language from the main ballot language. I don't know that you do that because people are really familiar with that language already. So if you just make that simple question, 5.25, it's simple and it's done. And if you want to add language to that, such as, to be used for all these different things, or if you wanted to, you certainly can add qualifications. The language you see is exactly statutorily what is required. Whether you add stuff afterwards is up to you.
Okay.
No,
Future-oriented waiver of Tabor.
It's not Tabor, it's similar because that's a restriction on revenue, but this is basically a cap on revenue growth.
Okay, so it's
That-
a waiver of that.
Exactly.
Okay.
but it's only an annual cap, right? So the difference here strategically for the group is the difference between the trend line and a budget document, right? So the cap, assuming assessed values either stay flat or even increase less than 5.25% a year, which they will going forward. We had assessment districts in the Front Range go down this year. We were the last ones on the bubble, so there was a lot in this county. But the state might not even hit 5% growth, right?
Okay.
So if we assume, just for the sake of argument, that it's flat going for over the next 5 years, there's not going to really be a lot of growth. You will eventually collect all of the revenue from that growth. It just won't all come in one fiscal year. It'll just increase slowly over time. So that's a trend line versus kind of a year, like a fiscal year document of saying you can only collect this amount, right? So for funds with reserves, it is less critical that you get all the money in 1 year, right? Because you can wait as opposed to funds that don't have reserves. They need it today, right now, because they will literally not be able to pay their bills the next year, right?
That's what we want.
That's, I think, an open question.
Let's ask that question first. And that question is specifically, that's not about example two. That's about this language right here. This language right here lets us keep all 6.8 mils. We don't have to include it in this ballot. We could not, and we could say, yeah, if you approve this 6.8 new mills, it'll take us. The problem is our mill rate is 4.5. So to double it, to get to 100% new revenue, is that 20 years? Am I doing the math right? It would take us 20 years just to get to 9 mills.
If we didn't
Yes.
have,
Right. And so I thank you, Rachel. And so, I mean, I would argue to you all, maybe for the sake of moving the conversation forward, if we do need this language in this question as written.
For the Tabor, in regards to the Tabor question.
the second question is.
Second question is the growth specific question,
Right.
right?
This is the more complicated one is assuming question one passes. Are we good with all of the rest of the cap waiving happening in one question, or do we want to try to put some of it back into that first question?
It's already in that first question. If you go back to that first question, it is there. That last paragraph addresses Tabor and the 5.5% cap. What I was saying to the board was, if you didn't want that in that question because you were concerned it was overly complicated, you could move that tiny little section. I mean, it's like three, now you're seeing my bias here. Those 3 lines, you could move into a separate question. My concern, if you do that, is then it really stands out differently and it could fail. And then this way they vote yes. And then it's up to you whether you do the 5.25% question on the same ballot or if it's not really necessary. Because I think what Colton is basically saying is we could get by without waiving that cap because it's not going to be so significant in the growth year to year. We could go back next year and have that same question on there.
Or put it on the same ballot or.
Right.
So let's start to, Kelly, your hand's been
Am I
up
right?
for me. You've got something to say. Kelly, you go first.
So we leave that worded the way it is. And then have the second question for the 5.25 cap. There are 2 separate questions. If the 5.25 fails, we try it next year. If it passes, we got it. So I think that version 2, we should leave it off and go with the first version because,
So leave this language here and go with the first version.
yeah, because we have to have
No.
a successful ballot.
Right.
We don't want to complicate it and take a chance that it doesn't pass.
Can I ask a clarifying question? This is Rachel.
Please.
Can so, Peter, are you saying, I just want to restate what I think I heard just to make sure I understand it. The 5.25 cap would apply only if the board chooses to apply it. That is, by using the language in this first question, this gives the board the ability to decide whether or not, or is it that no matter what, the 5.25 is going to apply if they run this question, and the county will not be able to collect all funds that come out of that mill levy?
If the county goes with the main ballot question and includes the de-Brucing language and we call it defielding, but it's basically the 5.5% cap, that's taken care of in that ballot question.
We wouldn't need another question.
We wouldn't need one. We are subject to that 5.25% cap or 10.5 over a 2-year assessment cycle is how they really do it. We're still subject to that. Colton is pointing out that from a financial standpoint, it may not make that much of a difference in really what we collect and move forward in terms of the annual collections. But the bottom line is we are still subject to that cap. We can come back at a future date on a different ballot with that question. You can put it on this ballot. It wouldn't be the same question, but it would be there. So Rachel, the point is that no matter what, the 5.25% cap it applies unless the board seeks a separate question waiving it. So right now you have to assume that that will apply. But if this ballot question, the main ballot question passes, Tabor restrictions are waived, as are the 5.5%, which is kind of irrelevant at that point because we're subject to a 5.25. Tabor's the big deal because Tabor's based on the prior year revenue and so forth. So that's really important to waive or you're stuck. Does the board have any questions about that? George? Anybody? Yeah.
I just want to point out that with my calculations, that 5.5% isn't a critical issue. We need to get to the 9 and work at it from there afterwards, if we have to. But putting that on the ballot, that single question for the 5.25, how should fail, we try it.
Yeah, and I think that's the distinction is Tabor applies to the whole amount of tax collected. So the mill increase and the assessed value increase.
Oh.
The 5.25% only applies to the growth and assessed value.
Okay.
Right? So you're taking one of those off the table. You're saying if we pass mills, that's separate from growth, right? So we don't want our mills, our increased mill collection to be tied to a cap. But we may be willing to consider for sympathy to our taxpayers, not to ask them twice when eventually they will have to pay over a pretty narrow period of time that increased assessed value growth because the assessment rates of industrial, agriculture, vacant land are all going down. Our net increase, despite the 40%, is not that high. It's like 5 to 8 to 10, even 10%. Even if it was 10%, our total growth, you're going to get it over 2 years.
Especially the E ESGID.
Right, especially the ESGID, because the ESGID is specifically exposed to commercial and vacant land values because all the high-end residential is in Evergreen, right? So they are very exposed to those assessment rates dropping, which means their net increase in growth is not as high, nearly as high. And so I would be less concerned financially, strictly financially about the 5.25. You need to debruce, you need to get off Tabor to get the full value of those mills because we don't have enough time to wait on that. But waiting on the other ones, it'll come pretty shortly.
And just to remind everybody too, this is just in the unincorporated area, so
Yes.
Right.
that's
Thank you. Yeah.
a different set of people than Idaho Springs, Empire, and you know.
And that will
even
only be
Evergreen
on
side.
the unincorporated E ESGID property owner's ballot. Nobody else will see that, right?
Thank you.
Wait, no, property owners, is this like does this work like a special district election where it goes only to the property owners? Or is the electorate the registered voters within the E ESGID?
It's the registered voters within the ESGID.
If you own property and you live somewhere else, you're not getting a ballot.
That is correct.
If you live in a trailer that only plates like the vehicle registration, you're still voting.
Right. Good question though, because well, I will share. This isn't a strong opinion, but my take is that this former language just has to be in there, or asking for new mills is effectively meaningless. This language, I think I prefer moving this language out of here and going with option 2 below. They're fundamentally the same question. You have to ask it in 3 different ways, but it's fundamentally the same question. As assessed value grows, can we keep the money or not? I worry about this language because this is a different question than just, do you want to see a mill increase next year? This is also, how do you feel about what you're able to predict or assume about what's going to happen to your property value? And if you've been watching your property tax bills over the last 8 years, something that is well-founded is that people tend to look at what's happened, the trend lines of the recent past and assume they're going to happen like that forever. So that a lot of people may interpret that second thing that I have highlighted as a blank check. And I think because we already have to ask a blank check question right here, I think we just ask one blank check question. That's where my head is at right now. I'm not trying to say like that this is what I want to insist on, but that's, as I reason through this, what I think makes the most sense.
So Peter, I have a question then. So if we have this link, it's only the unincorporated people that are voting for this. There's still a cap on outside this unincorporated area, right? Would we be missing out on any potential money there if we don't know, or have they said what the values are that we were waiting on the state?
So that's only for the residential assessment rate.
Right.
It's relying on the state. So
That
if
would
the
even be
state,
a whole nother separate thing.
well, this is only about this mill in this district. It's not about the school district, the general mill, anything else, right? This is about this district, these voters, this mill only, right? Not any of the other.
And that gets us up to the 9 that Kelly's talking about, which is equal to what the municipalities are contributing.
And then some support for EMS.
Agreeing to that.
I just want to make sure. So when
Well,
the people come to
The
me,
9 for fire.
right,
The
then
additional
2 for
2.49 or whatever it is for EMS.
right.
Yeah.
Maybe
that-
with George, I think since they're essentially the same, we take that out of that. one. Keep it as clear and simple as we can.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then are you going to run a second question then? Is that the plan? I thought you were saying you didn't want to.
No, I think since it's essentially the same, just run that second question on example 1 and take a chance on it. But it's a separate issue, and hopefully taking that out of there clarifies it so that that first one passes.
It would be this, if we take that last highlighted version out of the first, we would be going with example 2, I think. That was, right.
We have to still do.
So you're saying we have to have 2 regardless?
We have to have 2 regardless, because we can't put the language in example 1 into that other ballot measure. Statute requires, if you're gonna waive that statutory cap, it's first 10 words. And statute requires also a different 10 words when you're asking for a mill increase.
Right,
You can't both require at the same time.
I thought, maybe I misunderstood what you were saying. I thought Kelly had been saying, don't worry about the 5.25 this time around. I thought Colton was saying that that shouldn't have a dramatic effect financially. So you could just go with the debrucing and defielding in the main ballot language.
That's what people usually see almost every time they get a
Right.
ballot. They're used to seeing that, and it's like, oh yeah, I know what that is. But if you're changing the language, then you complicate it, is what I see.
Yeah, and I just want to make sure everybody's on the same, that we're following, because I couldn't. No, I would agree.
I think running a single question makes sense. If the first question debruces, it's one and done. We can worry about the 5.25 because Colton's right. If you look at the values on the property that we're talking about that affects the SJID, it is dropping. Right? So we're not going to see that 5.25 or 10% over 2 years. I don't think we're going to see that growth, no matter how we do it. So if we can do a single ballot question that keeps us debruced, which was a big deal from our 06, 07, and gets us the additional revenue for both agencies, we can figure out if that cap becomes an issue in the future, we can figure that out then. But
So
one question on the ballot, we just move on from that.
So what you're arguing for is we put all of this in there.
Just exactly like we see it on every ballot we vote on we see this every election cycle. I don't think anybody's like, oh, this is different. Am I wrong? I think we all see this all the
Right,
time.
it then creates doubt and questions then.
If you
If
don't
it does
have it.
look different.
And if we want to go after the 5.25 collectively for a bunch of different things in the future, beyond the ESGID, that makes sense to do that. That is a separate evaluation from what we're
I
worried.
like the voters this time around too, because it's not a presidential election. It's going to be the people that really go out and vote.
It's going to be a smaller
Yeah.
group of voters. We know that. And we also know what age group they're going to be in. There's a whole bunch of things to go into that, but I think having a single question that we can have adult conversations about with the public in a constructive way is our only path to get success in this current cycle, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And if we want to deal with the 5.25 across a whole bunch of different service delivery taxes in the future, which would be my recommendation, it's not just ESGID, it's like the county as a whole in the future, I think that's a separate problem that we work on.
I don't think we can run one question affecting different mills.
But if that's,
Every
yeah,
county general mill would have to run a question, ESGID would have to run a question. All this.
the 5.25% has a bigger impact on your general mill than it does on our ESGID is my point. So maybe our focus should be getting this ballot language through this year. And any other impact with the 5.25 is focus on what really the other programs that are going to take a bigger hit.
Especially if we have to turn around and ask for us in the future.
That's kind of my point, because if you get into if you're going to take a bigger hit on the residential values in Evergreen side of the district in the future, so maybe that's where that 5.25 question really gets focused.
Great.
And we worry about getting the 6.8 mils this year. We figure out what future looks like as far as sales tax, what it is. I just think we focus on one thing, it's cleaner.
I think this is the time too. I mean, the fire mitigation, all the questions we're getting are more aimed at the fire authority right now than anything.
Okay, so I mean, I feel like we've heard articulated kind of both the rationale for one option or the other, right? And I know, I wonder if we want to just focus on discussing these three bullets and whether we think this language is clear and accurate, if it's what it's missing, what it should be saying differently. Is that, what's our viewing preference? Do you like to be able to see the whole thing like that? Do you want me to like zoom in on just the bullets or? People look like they can read just fine.
Would just make the third bullet the second bullet. That's my big edit. So you go from maintaining to sustaining to supporting. It's just logically to me, that first and third bullet to me are the heart of this. And again, it all should be there. I had no qualms with the language or anything. I'm just literally talking about the order.
They were originally like that and we switched them because we put the two fire authorities together and EMS.
That's funny.
Yeah.
This fire authority would be doing these two.
I think the driver behind this or how we do it is, and how we market it is, it's about us maintaining our ability to provide service. It's about EMS, essentially, they'd be strengthening if they can add a third ambulance here.
That's what I think.
Which I think we should focus on the fact that that's a big deal to the public, that funding this would improve their service delivery levels. And then the mitigation, yeah, it's a big deal, but it's a smaller portion that could go third. And this is my opinion. We focus on the daily delivery stuff, and then supporting the property owners' efforts is like the last.
Is if we don't get money, that second one goes away. We can't do all those functions.
Right.
So a couple arguments for making that big bullet in the middle of the third bullet.
That was my comment. Yeah, I don't know how other people see it, but
I would like to get a team of residents together once we get this figured out too. And when this question comes up on Facebook or Snapchat or any of the others, I would like them to have this to put in there and say, okay, you want this fire mitigation, you want this education, then you got to do this. It's not free.
Yeah, I think that's really the cost of those programs we need to be able to articulate that, which I think we can. Everybody wants it. I hear it.
Yep.
I've got a stack of evaluations lined up right now. I gotta do this week, and it's more people lose their insurance. It's a bigger deal.
Right.
At the end of the
Yeah.
day,
that's the thing.
we collectively have to pick what we fund and what we're gonna fund. Unfortunately, that's sometimes where the cuts happen is in that third bullet.
Okay.
So it's a fire department, service. Do you think putting it right after the fire department or putting it as the third bullet works best for you guys?
I'd like to see it stay where it's at. Rub it together as two separate things.
Or even, doing, an indent so that people know it's, there are two major things, the fire department and EMS. And by the way, under the fire department, this is also,
And that'd be another way to word it so that there, yeah, that would be probably a solution to the problem. Because part of the maintaining that first bullet, if we maintain that through funding, mitigation is one of the things that gets maintained. Because it currently exists.
That's not a bad way to do it, yeah. Have two bullets with the one indent.
Yeah.
Yeah,
how's that sound to you, George?
accomplishes the same thing though.
Can you do that and see, let's look at it?
I don't know enough about how things are formatted on the ballot to know if we can actually execute that,
Yeah.
Oh.
but I sure can. Oh, no, this is a PDF. I cannot do that.
Oh.
You can't add sparkles?
I can't add
A
sparkle.
low price of $150 a year, you could.
But I mean, I see the point, and from a formatting perspective, it might make sense if we can get the ballot to do it. We'll have to have a conversation with the clerk about that.
Do you want to, you could do it also by, so you have a bullet, the first bullet, you could actually say Clear Creek Fire Authority, colon, and then two sub bullets. And then in the third, you'd have it Clear Creek EMS and then a sub bullet just for that.
That would make sense
That would
too.
make sense. That's very clear.
Organize it.
Mhm.
It just tells people exactly what they're funding. I think people
Exactly.
understand what they're funding, but as clear as we can make it because of we know the group is going to be voting for this, right? Making this decision, let's be honest. So we can make it as clear as we can and not have them have to read into it. Which agency is it? This will be successful. And then we can, that's our talking points.
Okay. That seems, if I could type well, that seems reasonable. I'm curious, what's the reaction to the language itself? Do we think like a good way to describe fire services is prevent, detect, and respond to fires?
You don't detect. You don't do anything for detection.
You think,
There's detection with building stuff within the fire building code, but the fire authority doesn't physically detect fire.
do you want to take that word out?
I don't know, that's just.
Should you add suppress?
Or prevent.
Prevents there.
Better than detect.
Respond to might,
That one's okay. Ability to prevent, yeah, that's kind of.
Suppress is better than detect for sure.
okay. You guys probably, if you're thinking about how this would be written, it would need to be structured a little bit differently, but we don't have to go through that here. I also, and this feels a little clunky to me, but I wanted to talk about, in addition to responding to fires rapidly, discuss like staff adequately. Is there a better way to state that?
Sufficiently?
Is it?
Why not take it out? Why not just say staff to attack?
Yeah,
Respond to fire rapidly and staff
Staff, what do you think? I mean, you guys, Kelly, is it appropriately, adequately, you want to be more than adequate.
Right,
Me.
yeah.
It seems like it needs to be flipped. Staff adequately
Adequate
is backward. If you said to adequately staff, then you'd probably want to change the first part of the sentence
To
to rapidly
respond.
prevent, detect, or respond. What it's the placement of that is kind of making it awkward. But if we could fix both parts of the sentence, I think it would make more sense. It would read better.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it's adequately or some other word.
Wasn't.
Doesn't matter. It would fit better that way.
I enjoyed it, but I've learned they're better at it.
Math wasn't mine, so.
Okay, so let's thank you on that. And if you guys like, by the way, you know this, if you have a light bulb go off, reach out. We've got another week or so to work on this. The middle bullet,
At some point in a separate document, see what it says.
yeah. This middle bullet was, I looked at what,
This one came out of Boulders, basically.
it was inspired, because it's not their language, but
I know that.
Boulder's wildfire mitigation ballot measure kind of went on and on about all the different services associated with like wildfire risk reduction. And so I included just some of what I saw in there about like what the actual activities are. I wanted to focus on, this is going to be serving property owners.
Yep.
And properties. I think emergency egress is really crucial right now, and so I wanted to include that. And then I wanted to make sure to include attracting state and federal funds. I don't know how compelling you all feel that is, but I like to talk about it as like when local governments invest a little bit, we start to be able to pull down our tax money from the state and the federal government too, or else we can just leave it out there for somebody else to do.
I thought that was a compelling paragraph, actually.
Any comments on that one? Any changes? Too wordy?
I liked it.
I think that covers a lot of things that are important to people,
Right, yeah.
specifically Saddleback in those areas. And even
Well, even King Murphy, well, that's relevant to
the
this.
whole county.
I understand that it would be compelling to me too if I were to vote on it.
Especially in ESGID or some of our neighborhoods that
Yeah, the egress.
I'm most worried about egress.
Those wanting to know what we're doing to help them get out of there.
George, I sent you a Word version of that with the bullets,
Huh?
in case you need it.
I think that the library was very successful in getting around and telling people, we don't just check out books.
Right.
We do all this other stuff, and everybody's like, oh, I didn't know that. We could get subscriptions. And I think it's the same with the fire authority.
Oh, Peter, thank you. Let's talk briefly about the EMS language and then we can get to Peter sent like that reformat as was discussed. What do we think about the EMS? We had a little bit of a debate because are we sustaining, are we strengthening? EMS got a tax increase in the last 10 years.
And people remember that.
And some people remember that. Jody's been saying she feels better about strengthening. I am tempted to say sustaining, not, and we're all good here. I've been tempted to say sustaining because the new revenue that would come from this measure is less than the deficit that they're facing. And so I think it can be stated as a sustainability measure. Let me stop rambling. Thoughts about sustaining or strengthening, and then thoughts about the descriptive language.
Darren, think.
My take is that it's both, right? A piece of it is strengthening, but the priority is sustaining. And I've used this number quite a few times. Last year, we requested Gilpin Ambulance Authority to stand by for us 106 times, which means we don't have the ability to respond to all of our own calls now. So this would help us it would help us sustain more than it would strengthen. So I like sustaining a little better. Again, there is a piece of it that would be strengthening, but I think sustaining is more accurate.
The reason I like strengthening is because we did just vote for that, and the sustaining is like, well, we're just gonna sustain it again. Why not ask for more? Or where do we get to a point where this is better than what we had instead we just keep sustaining this system? We're just gonna sustain it again. I mean, that's what I'm hearing in my neighborhood. I'm in this unincorporated area, so,
So the narrative, we just voted to sustain it. Why do you need to sustain it again?
right.
Because prices have gone up and demand has
But
gone up.
why not ask for what we need instead of?
Can you say sustaining and strengthening?
And are you telling the truth?
No. Because all we're doing is sustaining, from what I hear.
Well, and didn't we have a similar discussion about are we maintaining or strengthening the fire authority?
Right, exactly.
That if we say strengthening, we sound like we want more because we want it bigger and better when we're desperately just trying to make sure that we can fund what we have. And that is strengthening it, but we chose maintaining specifically to say, we've got to have this to stay where we're at level of service. Are we then saying that this is going to take EMS well above that, or is this same concept? Is it truly, are they both maintaining and sustaining, or is one of them leapfrogging above by having this money?
But I think the issue is EMS did have a tax increase. And people remember that.
Yeah, so we just keep throwing money at EMS and
Kind of
not
critical.
getting anywhere.
What about just
To convince
continuing
people,
better?
well, but continue, they already paid. In a lot of people's eyes, they already pay a sales tax on that, which is supposed to continue services as promised. So this is kind of where strengthening might be the better word, because you need to kind of be able to articulate why
What people are getting.
beyond what they voted for. Because we hear it all the time. It's just, it's not good or bad. It's just people remember it. I think we all.
And Aaron, to your point, you know, as a voter, I would think that sustaining would sustain what we're currently doing. And what we're currently doing isn't really sustainable if we're relying on Gilpin. So strengthening, to me as a voter, implies that we might be able to get up to where we're supposed to be, you know, being able to run our own ambulances to address all the issues.
What about reinforcing or
Yeah. But
fortifying?
Forcing would.
there's a bunch of words you could put in there that
I mean-
explain why it's a difference from what we've done to date.
I wanna show us what Peter drafted, because maybe the solution is in there.
Agreed.
Um,
Let's go.
It's occurring to me that the reality is both agencies will be sustained by this and will aspire to do a little bit more as well, right? Clear Creek EMS is gonna try to hire a third bus, right? If we get this increase for Clear Creek Fire, we'll try to put a little bit more into wildfire mitigation. That's why that's there. I mean, I almost wonder if the solution to this is to say sustaining and then add a bullet about a third bus. And it's something like prevent Gilpin from responding 1 out of every 3 days, ensure local response, you know.
Yeah, I wouldn't say prevent, I would say avoid having to
I would say,
pay for Gilpin to do it. What would you
I think it's like more of a limit. You want to limit, because if you put any kind of wording, this is we're prevent,
Yeah.
and we call Gilpin one time in a year, then suddenly we are relied on the.
Right.
It's, you're trying to reduce the reliance on.
Yeah.
it.
And it's, as a voter, I wouldn't want it to say bus, you mean ambulance, right?
Yes, thank you.
I was gonna say, I don't know if I'd put bus people, putting people on
Got
buses.
plenty of school buses.
We call it
I
a bus,
also-
but
I'm sorry, I just got excited and interrupted you all because I realized it's 12:01. Want to respect everybody's time. Do we need to just like cut this or should we spend it?
I always thought we went to 12:30.
I'm good. Okay.
I have a 12:30.
I do need to head back on the budget.
Well, Colton has to run away. Thank you, Colton.
Thank you, Colton. For
Hey,
everything.
George.
Yeah, Aaron.
Rachel and I have 2026 budget meeting starting now, so we have to jump off.
Okay, Aaron, you are welcome to continue to provide thoughts. Thank you for being here. And you,
Sounds good.
Rachel.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Everyone.
George, part of your messaging idea, right? You were, how much of what you're trying to say here in the ballot actually is stuff that you should be messaging? So if, for example, your neighbors, for example, Jody, are asking about what is the sustaining part? Why are we just sustaining? The messaging should be because you've been at 4 mills, and yes, EMS, for example, does have a sales tax, but even that hasn't kept up with the times. That's all part of the messaging part, right?
I agree.
So do you want to really overcomplicate the ballot question itself if you can get all the messaging stuff out there ahead of time so that when people show up, they just see it? They know what's in there. I mean, what do you think?
We
Judy?
definitely need to do that, yeah.
Right? I mean,
I just think, I mean, with the ambulance, people are gonna say, then why are they not asking for what they need?
Right.
Are we gonna be doing this in another 2 years?
Yeah,
Answer is yes.
answer's yes.
The answer is you,
Because we can't get to that point. This is what's so, I think, awkward about this is that we're asking for an increase to get to where it should have been, 5 years ago, whatever. So we're absolutely gonna need another one in 2 to 3 years because it still doesn't answer the need. And that's awkward to say, but I think that's the reality, and messaging versus what should be in the ballot is a good point. It's a fair point, I think, to kind of think about that. How complex do you get? How much do you put in here?
And my response to that question would be, because we don't want to overburden our voters all at once. If we can do it incrementally, that will help our services and not, be such a big hit to people's pocketbooks.
Well, in my
Um,
area, I'm definitely worried about that because sanitation district looks at, collecting more. And then that's why I'm glad these guys are going first, but we need money for our budget. Everybody is needing, the next thing we know, we've got
A mill every year.
50,
That's part of our marketing is that we realize that other districts need money as well. So we're trying to do ours incrementally, so it helps with that and doesn't burden the taxpayer.
All at
and,
once.
and let's not forget, when we surveyed about fire service and we gave 3 options, it was the hybrid approach that people preferred. The way to implement a hybrid approach is multiple questions or multiple ballots. And that may be something that, people
2027.
not while they're representing a government want to mention. I want to ask one more question. Just kind of getting back, Peter, thank you for reworking this the way that you did. How do we feel? Oh, I'm going to make it 2 pages. This is a response to like, oh yeah, let's format it like this. Do we like this better? You're going to flip over to the other one so that we can kind of
No,
see both?
I like this better.
You just like this better.
I like this better. I think it looks good.
So that's a takeaway. And then, we've got a board meeting process moving forward. We've got a board meeting tomorrow. We've got a work session to continue to reflect on this. We are scheduled for the 26th to finalize this language. Given the way that the announcement we made at the top of this meeting, we might hear from staff that they want like 3 more days, and it might be like the 29th or something. And that's just a heads up to you all. But as of right now, we're posted for the 26th to discuss this. And we will make a final decision on time, which is the deadline is September 1st, correct?
correct.
And then,
Well, September 2nd, September 1st is Labor Day.
I want to thank everybody for providing your thoughts on this language. I mean, it's important.
And how much help can the fire authority give to help us campaign for this? I mean, I'm assuming.
Becca, we should hold off that discussion for another time, not in a public meeting.
All right, thank you, Peter.
Okay. Anything else? Thank you all.
Thank you. Gee, something
Oh, sorry, we are adjourned.